Hey everyone, Lisa Salvatore here. Welcome to November. It is the first of the month that I'm recording this video. Rabbit, which is an auspicious thing to say. Every morning you wake up on the first. It's just known to bring in good luck and abundance, which is all that we can hope for. So much love to everybody for the month of November. I wish that I could say that things were going to calm down. They might calm down a little. But again, there's this energetic roller coaster that we're riding and have been riding. And I will say, I think October has been more tumultuous, more intense than November starts out, although there is a lot of buildup as we get towards the new moon on November the 4th, and then the full moon partial lunar eclipse in Taurus on November the 19th. But let's get right into it. Today is November the 1st that I'm recording this video, and we start the month off with the sun in a square to Saturn. The sun in Scorpio is going to be in a square to Saturn in Aquarius, and basically all of Scorpio season, we're dealing with that square to Saturn, so things can feel a little bit heavier. On the collective level, we could feel like there's more restrictions coming in around us, both personally, professionally, collectively. Just a lot to contend with right now. And there's definitely more of an introspective, deep, probing quality to the air, to the energy. And that is typically what Scorpio season brings in, is the ability to go under the terrain psychologically and to go deeper into the things that we don't always discuss. So we're traversing this landscape underneath the surface. We almost can't help it. And then on top of the fact that we have some planetary alignments right now that are promoting feelings of restriction, frustration, and sobering reality in ways in which we thought we could do certain things, we just can't, or we don't have the resources. So a lot could be coming up, and it's wise to just go inward and to digest where you're at, honor and accept where you are, even in the spaces that are uncomfortable, especially in the spaces that are very uncomfortable, and look at what is going on for you and what it is potentially trying to help you with and to show you and what it's bringing up for you. You know, when we're dealing with Scorpio season, Scorpio is a sign that speaks to the shadow of us, of the shadow side of ourselves. And often it's the things we don't really want to look at. But those house the best treasures, right? The stuff that we don't want to look at often houses the gold. And when you go into it and you honor it for what it is, there's just a sense of relief that comes with that. It's very cathartic, just acknowledging. So for example, you know, something that comes up around Scorpio time is the feelings of inadequacy that we all experience within our own right. And with this time, it could be other people's successes or other people's situations that could potentially make you feel inadequate in some capacity, or me or whomever, all of us. And it could bring up, you know, issues around what we truly desire, what we're hungry for, and then what makes us envious, what we see in others that we may want or that we want to bring in for ourselves. And I've always been a person who says that jealousy and envy are not the same thing. They're not. But I've always said that jealousy, in my opinion, is a trait that you either possess strongly or you do not. It's a hardwiring type of thing. And maybe we can look to astrology for that as well. And we can definitely figure things out through astrology there. But that's something that I've always spoken about, is that I think, you know, envy is a little different because we all experience envy at different points on our journey here. And it's often through something that comes of another's life or trajectory that brings up those feelings of envy. And looking at that in a constructive manner is very cathartic. So it's not like you're envious of what someone else has because you don't have it, but rather it's about flipping around and saying, okay, I desire that. I want what that person has. That's really cool, or that's really awesome that they can do that. And how can I make myself better in my own eyes to get to that place so it doesn't come up as a yucky feeling the whole time? It comes up yucky initially, but then you move through the yuck and you look at why is there this yuck, okay? It's always about us. We're always going to turn that back in. It's the mirror effect and it's the shadow, and that's what this season is about. Okay, enough rambling about Scorpio season and traversing our deep psychological stuff, as we are all doing and have been doing more so right now. On November the 4th, we will have our new moon in Scorpio. This new moon takes place at 12 degrees of Scorpio and is almost in an exact opposition to Uranus. I've already done a video on the new moon in Scorpio and I've linked that below. So if you want to go back and listen to that one separately, there was a lot in there that would give you some more of an idea of what we are up against right at the moment, but I'm not going to go too deep into it in this video because I've already done so. But cliff notes, this new moon is in exact opposition to Uranus, almost exact. And what is Uranus about, right? Uranus is change, unpredictability. It's also a nervousness, it's unsettled feeling. It's uncomfortable at times, can also be very exciting. So, the ultimate goal of Uranus is liberation and breaking us free. So there could be this element coming up around this new moon energy of what do I really want for myself? What do I desire? And what does it take for me to break through these barriers to get what I want? And really being conscious about what you're putting your energy towards is extremely important right now. And again, honoring everything that comes up for you. I don't particularly work with every moon cycle because if it doesn't speak to me and if it doesn't feel right, and if my own personal astrology is not the best or not feeling right to me to work with that energy, I won't. So you want to see how you feel with this new moon. But one thing for certain, definitely put some energy into what you desire and what you need to do to get to it. What you can do more of to get to it that's constructive to help you with your growth. Now, Scorpio is a fixed water sign. And all of the fixed signs are, there's a sense of stubbornness to the fixed signs. Other fixed signs being Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius. So our 4 fixed signs are Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius. And those 4 signs are fixed. And fixed meaning a little immovable. They can definitely be stubborn. And more importantly, they're rooted to their position. They're keeping things level, right? They're keeping things where they are. But Scorpio's fixed water, and water moves, water flows, water is fluid, and this moon is about our emotional world. So yeah, emotions are very fluid and very transient around this time, and a lot is coming up for everybody. So be kind to yourself and be kind to others, like I always say, and use this energy constructively to go into your intuitive space and figure out what it is that you want, that you are hungry for, and that you desire. Now remember, as we go through this new moon energy, Mars, who is currently now in Scorpio, is going to be getting closer and closer and closer to an exact square with Saturn. And anytime we're dealing with Mars and Saturn, we feel that. We all feel it. We feel it on every level because the feeling of that is like, say you're in a car and Mars wants to just step on that gas and Saturn wants to jam on the brakes, and Mars wants to act and move and get things done. And especially in Scorpio, where Mars is at the height of his power, because Mars rules Scorpio. Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So, when Mars is in Scorpio, think about Mars. Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. And when Mars is in Aries, it's much more of an outward expression of energy and drive. When Mars is in Scorpio, it is no less powerful, and further compounding the power aspect, Pluto is the modern day ruler of Scorpio, and Pluto is more of a silent power, right? Scorpio is a silently powerful sign. Mars is not silent, but in Scorpio, Mars goes under the surface and still is feisty and fierce and moves and gets things done, but it's got more of that introverted quality to it, where Mars in Aries has more of that extroverted quality to it. And now Mars is getting closer and closer to a square with Saturn in Aquarius, and that exact square will take place on November the 10th. And as we get towards that square, it's just this feeling of, again, it's the drive to get things done, but also the frustration that comes with it when obstacles present themselves in our path, whether they're brought to us from outside forces or whether we bring them onto ourselves. It's just a feeling of running out of gas, wanting to go and then stopping, running out of gas. So just be mindful of this, and just know that if you're struggling with feelings of limitation and restriction and obstacles and blockages, just like I always say, this is something I always tell my clients, when you get the green light from the universe, from the divine, from God, from whomever, and things are effortless and they kind of just flow, that's how you know you're on the right track. But when you keep coming up against obstacles, and now I'm bringing this up because not everyone's going to feel this Mars Saturn to the same degree. You may still be moving forward on things. Some of us might not, but it's about owning and honoring the space to allow things to be, because when you're forcing and pushing on that gas pedal, you're gonna come up against that brick wall, okay? So just be mindful of that this is the energy we are all under, and we can definitely be experiencing this out there in the world, but I'm talking more about the internal, right? The personal side. Now, the day after the new moon on November the 5th, Venus will switch signs. So Venus is going to leave Sagittarius and enter into Capricorn. And Venus will be in Capricorn for quite a while because she's going to go retrograde there. And I'm going to do a separate video for that. But Venus switches into Capricorn on November the 5th. On the same day, Mercury will enter Scorpio. So now Mercury is officially out of Libra and Mercury is officially out of the retrograde shadow. Thank you. So things can start to feel a little bit more forward momentum when it comes to the mercurial things in our lives. But yet there's still this feeling of restriction in some ways. So those two signs switch on November the 5th. So we've got a new moon on November 4th, and then we've got two inner planets shifting signs. So we feel this in our bodies. Remember this, okay? The planets are bodies of energy. We're energy. They move. They trigger certain things in us. We feel it. Take extra care of your body. Rest where you need to. Keep up with your nutrition, drink your water, get outside and ground, do what you can do to keep yourself in that higher frequency, because it's going to feel like a lot of energy. It's not necessarily going to feel negative. It's just going to feel like a lot, like that bzz, that buzz that we always talk about with Uranus. That's present right now, especially this first 2 weeks of November. Okay, then we get past November the 5th. And like I said, we're getting closer and closer to the exact Mars square Saturn on November the 10th. And then we get to the eclipse, the partial lunar full moon eclipse on November the 19th. This eclipse takes place in the sign of Taurus at 27 degrees and 14 minutes. Now, I want you to look at this eclipse as the beginning of a story. We've had eclipses on the Gemini and Sagittarius axis of the nodes of the moon. So the north and south nodes have been Gemini and Sagittarius for the past 18 months. These nodes are going to shift in January, and now the nodes move retrograde motion naturally, okay? So the nodes are going to move into Taurus and Scorpio come January. So the north node will move into Taurus, south node will move into Scorpio. Now, this is important because this is a partial lunar eclipse in Taurus. So this is going to give us like a little piece of the story of what could potentially, or what areas of your life are going to be illuminated or eclipsed, or things brought out or changes with this next shift and the next 7 eclipses that we're going to have on the Taurus and Scorpio axis. So you're going to want to look to your chart to see where you have your Taurus-Scorpio axis. Even if you don't have planets and points in Taurus and Scorpio, they still will rule over a house in your chart, which is an area of life. And so that will be where these eclipses are going to take place for you. So you may want to go and look at that because this is the beginning of this. Then come January, those nodes will officially shift into Taurus and Scorpio, and then it's game on with the eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio. Now, eclipses, as we know, are known to be fated portals of time and winds of change, and this is where a lot of different things enter and exit our reality, sometimes out of outside circumstances, or sometimes we are the agent of that change and the instigator of that change. But change is the name of the game when it comes to eclipse energy. And this is different for everybody. And then based upon your personal chart, it can play out in many different ways. Just as an example, I'll use myself. I have a Gemini, my ascendant descendant axis is Gemini Sagittarius. And this last batch of eclipses was on the Gemini and Sagittarius axis. And we still actually have an eclipse in December on the Sagittarius axis. But anyway, in the last 18 months, those 2 points in my chart have been getting hit with these eclipses. And there's been a lot of change in my life. There's been a lot of growth. There's been, especially when it comes to the ascendant, which is our personal self. And then the 7th house, which is where the descendant is, that point is about the way we are in our relationships with others. And those 2 areas for me have undergone a lot of change under these eclipse energies. But I feel that a lot of it's been positive because it's pushed me into growth, right? A big growth spurt. So look at it that way. This can be very, very positive. If you've got any area in your life that is stagnant, these eclipses could tend to come in and shake them up a little bit and shake them out. Remember, we're still dealing with Uranus. 2 days before the eclipse, I forgot to mention, on November the 17th, Mars and Uranus are going to come into an exact opposition. Now, we've spoken about this before, but when Mars and Uranus come together, the energy can be a little frenetic. It can feel very charged. It can feel like a lot. It can feel very ramped up, nervous, irritable, anxious, fast, impulsive, hasty, all those words. And Mars and Uranus can be equated to accidents. Both of these planets can speak to accidents occurring. Not saying that they will, just saying could being the operative word here. So forewarned is forearmed, like I always say. So you want to be extra careful around this time, especially as we get up towards that full moon on the 19th. when you're operating your car, any kind of machinery, when you're operating your vehicle, when you're using knives or scissors, when you're doing things around the house, just being a little bit extra cautious and careful and mindful about what you're doing, especially if you're clumsy like me. You want to be extra cautious and extra careful. And remember that everyone is under this energy. Everyone is feeling this ramped up, nervous feeling. And some people handle it better than others, right? And so again, it's really important to stay in a space where you can keep yourself in a more calm manner. And again, if you are feeling too frazzled and too frenetic, this goes without saying, don't drive if you can avoid it, and just be chill. Be still and be chill, like I always say. Now, the day of that full moon, lunar eclipse in Taurus on November the 19th, and I'm going to pull the chart up here in a moment, Mars and Uranus will still be pretty much in almost exact opposition. They'll be about a degree and some minutes apart. So this energy is still very much around this full moon. And remember, full moons bring things up, and lunar eclipses are full moons on steroids. So things are illuminated, things are kicked up. So that Mars-Uranus energy can definitely be kicked up. So you want to watch out for that. On the positive side, it can be very constructive for getting things done and for accomplishing our tasks and our goals. Okay, let's go to the charts. All right, so here we have our full moon in Taurus, partial lunar eclipse on November the 19th, 2021, 3:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the first thing that we want to mention is that this is the sun here at 27 degrees of Scorpio, opposite the moon at 27 degrees of Taurus. As we know, full moons are when the sun and moon are opposite signs of each other, opposite each other in the sky. And the sun in Scorpio sits here in the second house, okay? And the moon sits here in the eighth. And the thing to note about that is both the second and eighth houses speak to financial. They speak to finances. Second house being more personal finances, eighth house being others' finances. Also the world financial system, okay? So there's a lot centered around money at this time, and the way that we spend it and the way that we make it and the way that we produce it. We're hearing a lot of this on the world scale, right? But also personally, things could be coming up for you about what you're doing with your money, how you're making your money, where you want to put your money, investing, and all things of that nature. So we may be hearing more and more about this also on the world stage. Now, I heard that the US Congress had to raise the debt, or has to raise the debt ceiling limit, which we've heard before, and they give the potential word recession, which is not to panic because we've heard this before. And let's remember that the eighth house, in which Scorpio rules over, is also related to paranoia and fear. So this could be some fear mongering that's going on at this time. So don't panic. Just know that this is an energy around this lunation, and we could hear about it or read about it or see it. We've also heard it, on the news or whatnot, or what have you. So the second and eighth houses are also loans and banking. So this is an energy to be mindful of around this time. We might hear a lot about this, read a lot, like I said, see it in our own lives, the way that the underpinnings work. Also, Uranus is involved. So there's always that element of unpredictability and potential discomfort that could be present. Keep this in mind as we move throughout the month and get towards this full moon. Now, this full moon at 27 degrees of Taurus is conjunct the North Node here at 1 degree of Gemini. Now, I know that Gemini and Taurus are obviously not the same sign. This is an out of sign conjunction. The North Node is connected to the future. Like we mentioned earlier, it's connected to the growth. And full moons are about release. It's about something that needs to be released, or what needs to be released. So there's a strong energy of positivity attached to this about future orientation. So whatever happens around this full moon, whatever comes up for you is very much connected to your future path, to your future growth. Even if things need to be let go of to get you there, this time period produces an energy where you can see the forest through the trees a little bit, and even with some discomfort present, you should be able to see bigger picture. Keep thinking bigger picture, because that's huge energy around this eclipse. Now, Mars over here at 13 degrees of Scorpio is opposite Uranus, as we've mentioned several times. And then we've got Mercury here at 21 degrees of Scorpio in a square to Jupiter here at 24 degrees of Aquarius. So again, Jupiter can have a tendency to overdo things. And so with Mercury squaring Jupiter, this could be angry words, angry pieces of information being put out there. saying too much, overdoing it, because Jupiter in a square to Mercury, this is like, you know, Jupiter is a planet of abundance and positivity. It's a benefic, but when it's in a square to Mercury, there's a potential to overdo it. So we want to watch for angry words. We want to watch what we're saying. We want to watch what we're feeding ourselves under this energy. Mercury is also opposite Uranus. So again, there's this element of adding in the unexpected anger or explosive words or situations that could come up that could further emphasize that Mercury-Jupiter square. Now, the Mercury in Scorpio is the 21 degrees and Uranus is at 12. So it's 8 degrees away, but we're still going to count it because it adds to the energy. So it's important to mention it. Now, positively, let's look at some of the positives here. We've got Venus at 12 degrees of Capricorn, almost exactly in a trine to Uranus at 12 degrees of Taurus. So Venus trining Uranus can produce excitability in the best way. It can produce sparks of the best kind. You can meet a perfect stranger that becomes your lifelong best friend. This is the energy of Venus and Uranus when they come together. It's also about thinking of new ways of doing the old paradigms within our relationships. This can be very positive for injecting a fresh new spark in existing relationships or beginning new relationships. Also, if you've been in a situation that you know needs to end or you need to move on from, this energy could give you the circumstances in a positive manner to get you to the next step. So again, this Venus-Uranus trine, especially because they're both in earth signs, there's an element of groundedness to this as well, which is really nice. We also have, let's see what else we can do here that's nice. We've got Mercury in Scorpio at 21 degrees, trining Neptune at 20 degrees of Pisces. Again, Mercury trining Neptune, really sweet, really nice, good for the imagination, good for creative and intuitive work. It's good for seeing the forest through the trees in our dealings and getting to the bottom of things. Albeit, you know, with Scorpio, there's always, you know, that hidden element to it, but still it's a trine, a water trine. So we're going to take it. We're going to take it for the good that it could give us. And Venus, again, which is our planet of connection and love and money, once again, Venus is speaking nicely with Mars over here at 13 degrees of Scorpio in a sextile, which is a pretty, you know, chill aspect. It's not felt that strongly, but it's sweet. It's a smooth aspect. So it's so smooth sometimes that we don't even notice it. That's the thing about sextiles in astrology. They're so smooth, we kind of don't notice them at times. But it's adding an element of, you know, Venus and Mars are the two planets, masculine and feminine, two planets of relating. So the fact that they're speaking nicely to each other around this new moon, I'm sorry, I keep saying new moon, full moon, lunar eclipse is a beautiful thing. Now remember with this energy that, I want to just stress this again, this is not just this full moon lunar eclipse that we're going to feel this. This is like the kickoff of potential of what could come. Remember, Venus is also going to go retrograde in November. We enter the shadow this month on the 17th, I believe. Venus will enter her shadow. And then she'll officially go retrograde in December. So when Venus goes retrograde, when Venus has us backtrack and reevaluate and reassess and realign within our relationships, within our connections, and with our relationship to money and to self. So let's keep this in mind that whatever comes up around this eclipse is the part of a bigger story. I want to just keep reiterating that because it's important. It's not just at this time. All right. And okay, so Mercury and Venus are speaking nicely to each other. And then we've got Mercury also in a trine, albeit it's a wide trine, but again, we're going to count it. I'm sorry, not Mercury, Mars at 13 degrees of Scorpio, trining Neptune at 20 degrees of Pisces. So again, they're speaking nicely to each other. It's a water sign, so this could give some extra compassion and energy towards situations and others that are less fortunate than us, perhaps. And then Venus is also trining Neptune, which also adds to the compassion because, you know, Neptune is a higher octave of Venus, and both of those planets speak to conditional and unconditional love. So there's empathy and compassion here to be found. It's more readily available. So even with potential, you know, disruption that could come up around this time, there's also the potential to be able to put the shoe on the other foot a little bit easier and to practice empathy and compassion in a more profound manner under this energy. And if you're not doing that, then this energy could bring something up for you that not forces you to do it, but makes you go inward and say, you know, I'm thinking of this differently. I never thought of it this way before. And, you know, that's a good thing. That's a beautiful thing. Okay, I think that's the gist of it here. All right, so let's get a tarot card for this energy. For this full moon partial lunar eclipse in Taurus that takes place on November the 19th, which remember the Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius folks are going to feel this the strongest, specifically Taurus and Scorpio, and specifically if you have your sun, moon, and or ascendant at between 24 and 29 degrees of any of those signs. But again, specifically Taurus and Scorpio, you will feel this energy the strongest. Could be very positive. You know, Uranus is involved in the mix here, so there could always be potential disruption and discord that comes up, but ultimately the goal of that is to clear a path for you to bring you towards your truth, your true north, which is what this eclipse speaks to as it's attached to the North Node in Gemini. All right, let's get a card here. I'll shut up now. Okay, we got the Knight of Cups. So Knights move, they're active, they set forth in motion to deliver something, and cups are emotion and heart and love and possibility. And so the Knight of Cups speaks to this energy around the full moon, lunar eclipse, I think being about our relationships mostly and working things out within them. And again, because there's so much financial stuff that keeps coming up around this time, your relationship to your finances, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to others. It could be your romantic relationship, any kind of relationship. This is about relating. It's about the emotionality behind all of it's about what drives us, basically. What drives us emotionally to do certain things? Because this is the energy of this whole month of Scorpio season that we keep bringing, things keep coming up for us to look at about our own personal behaviors and patterns and unconscious material. And so the Knight of Cups delivers something sweet with it. And around the time of this eclipse, I think it's quite possible that you're going to get some really good information. You may not act on it because the Knights don't always necessarily, that particular Knight of Cups, I've seen him not always act. He definitely feels things. He's stirred by emotion, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to take action just yet. And again, this is part of that eclipse energy, right? Something is stirred up. We're looking at it. Something's illuminated. It's setting things in motion. So think of this time frame as the stage and things are getting set in motion for the future production. Okay, I hope that this has helped you. Stay calm, stay good, everybody. You can find me at lisasalvatore.com. I offer private consultations. And don't forget that new moon video is linked below. Definitely check that out. And good luck under this tremendous energy. Take good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye.